House Speaker Mike Johnson arrived in the region of Judea and Samaria as part of an official visit that he's making. And what makes it so special is the first time that a sitting U.S. Speaker of the House has visited that area, the area that many people have been referring to as the West Bank. And so after a week of the legacy media trying to suggest that there's a growing wedge between the United States and Israel, here we have just the opposite seems to be taking place. Well, here to discuss this and more with me is Congressman Jim Baird, who serves on 3 House committees, including the Foreign Affairs Committee. He represents the 4th Congressional District of the great state of Indiana. Congressman Baird, welcome to Washington Watch. Great to see you, my friend.
Thanks. Good to see you as well. How you doing, Jody?
I am doing great. Thank you. All right, listen, let's first of all, is it clear that the U.S., and I'm going to put it this way, and maybe this isn't the best way to phrase this, but the relationship between the U.S. and Israel, is it better than ever, or do you think there's some tension between the countries? What is this right now from your perspective?
From my perspective, it's better than it's ever been. I think the fact that Hamas attacked Israel really strengthened that relationship from my perspective. And it's important to recognize that I feel, and I think a lot of others the same way, that Israel had a right to defend itself and has a right to continue to clean up what Hamas did to them on October the 7th.
Yeah, you know, I pose that question, Congressman, because here we have more anti-Semitism perhaps than that I can remember, probably in my lifetime at least, and yeah, you've got, it seems to be a faction in the country, but at the same time, there seems to be a great relationship between the Israeli Prime Minister and the White House, and right now the Speaker of the House is visiting there. So I would tend to agree with you, at least from the perspective politically, from the party that's in charge right now here in the United States. But there is some shaky ground at the same time. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I think you have to really analyze what is taking place. And I am very comfortable with the President Trump, and I'm very comfortable with the Speaker Mike Johnson. I think both of those really care about other people and even other societies. And so they're going to work to try to bring peace. And yet there are those that are making it difficult to accomplish that. And yet they're advocating for other means of government that, and I'm talking about communism, that we know doesn't work. And so I'm very comfortable and appreciate all the things that the President has done and the Speaker of the House has done. And I've been to Israel a time or two, and I really enjoy and have been excited to see what Prime Minister Netanyahu has done.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the Speaker of the House. I was not aware until seeing this today that as the Speaker is there right now in Judea and Samaria, some call the West Bank, it's the first time that a sitting Speaker of their House has done so. But speaking of that, there's seems to be a growing reference to that particular region being called for what it is historically, Judea and Samaria, rather than the West Bank. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's probably a valid perspective. And then it removes the West Bank concept, and maybe that's a good thing under the current circumstances because it gets away from what's been happening by using the West Bank name.
Absolutely. There's been some outrage this week, and I'm sure you, like many of us, have seen some of the images that have been released of the way that Hamas has been not caring for some of the hostages, just emaciated captives. It's just horrible. What do you think of Hamas and the reactions to all of this as these images continue to come forth?
Well, I think their actions are barbaric, and that's one of the reasons I think Israel has a right to clean it up. And when people will attack young people at a music festival and start killing those people that are innocent, and then starving to death, they took 251 hostages, and they think there may be somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 of those still alive, and they think there's 50 hostages with the other 30 that passed away. But President Trump wants to bring everyone home, including those that have passed away. But I think that's really the treatment of the hostages illustrates what Hamas is capable of, as well as the attack in October the 7th. And when you got people like that are promoting the instability in that region, and the instability and the way they've treated other people is just horrific. And so
it really is.
It's just amazing.
So it is. And, it appears to me, and there's some reports out there that Hamas is under pressure right now. Does it appear to you, from what you're seeing, what you're hearing, and talking in conversation with your colleagues and others, that perhaps new talks, negotiations could be happening soon? Do you think that's a possibility?
I do think that's a possibility. And, some of the scenes that have just recently been released on the news really shows that Rafah is just destroyed or demolished. And so I've been to that border, and I've seen the trucks sitting there waiting to go in. And then when they do get in, sometimes those Hamas takes the food, and food is fungible because it's just like money. And if you've got it, it's illustrated by those people trying to get enough food, and you see the activity that takes place when they meet these distribution centers. And while we're talking about that, this group, the Gaza humanitarian effort, that's run by a lot of former special forces individuals from the United States, and they've been able to give out 1 million meals a day, and they've been able to keep control of that situation, and they got 4 distribution points. But back to your issue about if you think there's a possibility, I think Hamas is being under a lot of pressure, and I think Israel has been doing that. And the fact that Israel is considering moving forward, at least they're having, Netanyahu's having his cabinet get together sometime this week to decide what the next steps are. And I think they're concerned about what those might be.
If I can switch gears for you real quickly, we've only got a couple of minutes left, but yesterday Attorney General Pam Bondi directed the Department of Justice officials to open a grand jury investigation into how the Obama administration officials handled intelligence about the Russian interference in the 2016 elections. What's your take on what's been unfolding there? It seems like that is just taking a lot of attention from the news.
Well, I'm really glad that Attorney General Bondi is going to do that. I'm glad that the Director Kash Patel and the DNI Tulsi Gabbard are all going to take a look at and get to the bottom of this. And I think the American people deserve that, and they need justice, because this has been going on for years, and it's all been against President Trump. And I don't think that's fair. I think we need answers, and I think this investigation and subpoenas will help get to the bottom of this.
The subpoenas that came out today, I saw from James Comer, and the Oversight Committee released a list of people that they are going to subpoena, from Hillary and Bill Clinton all the way down to a host of others. We'll see what will happen there. Probably some of them will just simply plead the fifth and carry on. But this is an issue that we need to get to the bottom of. Potentially, some are saying, potentially one of, if not the greatest scandal in the U.S. history. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. And how do you ever build trust in our government under these kind of circumstances when it's been advocated for years now, this Steele dossier and Russian hoax, and yet now we're finding out that it wasn't true and that it was a hoax. So how is the American people going to ever develop trust in our government if we don't get to the bottom of it and find out what we need to do to correct it?
Good question. Thank you so much, Congressman Jim Baird. Indiana, always great to see you. Thank you for taking time to join us today on Washington Watch. We appreciate it.
You too.